It's gone? Okay.
Nice job, Darlene. Thanks.
I didn't do it. Blame it on Sam. He fixed us.
Take the credit.
Other
It's
Sam,
okay,
not
it's
just
okay.
Sam, but
It's okay.
I have the power to mute you, you know. All of you.
Okay, we have a quorum.
We do, and I'm just putting us on live stream here. Hold
Okay.
on just a minute.
All right.
One more chance to say something without being recorded.
Right.
I'm not saying anything.
Okay, we should be good to go now.
Good.
Oh, now.
That would be a first.
I knew that was coming.
All right, here we go. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Committee on Transportation and Public Hearings. We're pleased you can be with us. And as you know, public hearings are a time when the committee essentially listens to the public and listens to the sponsor of legislation. And we look forward to doing that. Remember that this is an electronic meeting. It's being live streamed on the committee's YouTube channel. And all participants via Zoom can be seen and heard if the mic is on. Testifiers cannot be seen or heard until they are recognized by the chair. Meeting is also recorded and available on the committee's YouTube after the meeting is concluded. I remind everyone to check to make sure your name is displayed on the Zoom as the same as you registered. That's very helpful. Public hearings, as you know, we'll start with the sponsor, and any co-sponsors will follow, and then followed closely by those who are registered to testify, either as proponents starting, followed by opponents, followed by those who would speak neither for nor against. When called upon, you'll be promoted from attendee to participant, and when finished, back to attendee status you go. When called upon, make sure your mic is on, state your name, residence, and any affiliations you may have that would be interesting or important for the committee to know. All individuals who wish to testify must have registered in advance.
Revised.
We'd like to introduce the committee to you all, and we'll start with Senator Farren. Good afternoon, Senator Farren. Senator Farren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Brad Farren, represent Senate District 3, which is the majority of Somerset County.
Thank you, sir. Senator Chipman. See, not here. Representative Wayne Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wayne Perry. I represent House District 10, which covers Arundel, Dayton, and most of Lyman.
Thank you, sir. Representative Lynn Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am Lynn Williams. I represent House District 135, which includes Bar Harbor, Lemoyne, and Mount Desert.
Thank you very much. Representative Dustin White. Not here. Representative Mike Perkins.
Good afternoon, sir. Representative Mike Perkins from Oakland, representing District Number 77, Oakland and Sydney. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Representative Mark Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Mark Bryant. I represent House District 24, part of the town of Wyndham.
Thank you. Representative Bruce White.
Yes, thank you. And I am Representative Bruce White from Waterville District 109.
Sir. Representative Tom Martin. With us. Representative Kevin O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Kevin O'Connell, District 128, a big chunk of Brewer.
Thank you, sir. Representative Rich Sebra. Up. You have no audio, Representative Sebra. You try again. You keep working on it. We hope that we'll get a chance to hear you, and we'll go to our House Chair, Representative Danny Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, folks. My name is Danny Martin. I represent House 150, located in northern Worcester County.
Thank you, sir. And I'm Senator Bill Diamond, live in Wyndham, and my Senate district is Wyndham, Raymond, Casco, Standish, Baldwin, and Fry Island. And our analyst today is Sam Prower, and and Darlene Simoneau is our clerk, of course. And we thank you both for being with us and all the work that you do.
Senator.
Yes, you got it.
It works. Yay. I'm back and better than ever. Representative Rick Saber, District 68, Naples, Sebago, Baldwin, Cornish, and Parsonsfield. Thank you, Senator.
Excellent. When you talked real fast, it worked good. When you were slowed down, it kind of slowed a little bit. So we'll hope that goes well. The order of today's hearings, if you'd like to write them down, will be as follows. Starting with 1027, 704, 669, 1133, and 537. We will be on the clock today, on the 3-minute clock, and the House Chair Martin will be watching and keeping time, and he, at 30 seconds remaining, will notify the person testifying that they're getting close and they should summarize. So that'll be our lineup today, and we'll start with number 1 bill. We just talked about the title, LD 1027, an act to amend laws governing local bridges, presented by Senator Farren. And welcome, Senator Farren. Senator Farren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and fellow members of the Legislators Transportation Committee. I'm Senator Brad Farren, and I have the honor of representing the people of Senate District 3, which includes much of Somerset County and one town in Kennebec County. On behalf of the Maine Department of Transportation, I am before you today to present testimony on LD 1027. It's an act to amend the laws governing local bridges. This legislation submitted by the department proposes to make several changes to the section of law pertaining to bridge and minor span ownership and responsibility. In an effort to increase public safety, MDOT would obtain the authority to post or close a bridge that is owned by a town or county in the event that that town or county did not perform the posting and closure themselves. Additionally, this bill states that if the bridge were to be constructed to a size much larger due to current laws and regulations, it must meet the department's engineering standards, since the bridge would then fall under the responsibility of MDOT. This change would ensure that any structure which becomes MDOT's responsibility is built to a standard that will ensure the public safety. As you may recall, we heard this bill last session and the committee voted it out unanimously. Unfortunately, due to the early adjournment as a result of the pandemic, the bill was not enacted by the entire legislature. It is my hope and that of MDOT that this committee will once again support this legislation. Megan Russo from MDOT is with us today and will be providing greater detail on why this bill is important. I thank you for your time and consideration, and while I would be happy to answer any questions you may have, I see the smiling face of Ms. Russo in the panelist group here, and I will defer to her expert testimony to answer your questions.
Thank you, Senator Farren. Not quite so fast. Are there abundance for Senator Farren? Senator Farren. Seeing none.
Oh, you guys might get a cat hat after all.
We are getting a little double sound again. But anyway, we recognize in support of LD 27, Megan Russo. Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I feel like it's been a very long time since I've seen you all, so it's good to be back.
Nice to have you.
Thank you. Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. I am Megan Russo, Legislative Liaison for the Maine Department of Transportation. I am before you today to present LD 1027, an act to amend the laws governing local bridges. LD 1027 amends language in sections of statute that deal with bridges and minor spans in Maine. Maine DOT is responsible for all bridges on state-owned roads and busier bridges on local roads. Counties or municipalities are responsible for smaller spans on local roads. A bridge is classified as a structure with a length more than 20 feet. A minor span is a structure with a length of at least 10 feet, but no more than 20 feet. Below, I'm not going to read these out, but I have further broken down bridge responsibility that for your all reference, which is in my testimony. Maine DOT currently maintains responsibility for the inspection of all bridges and minor spans in the state. These inspections occur at least every 24 months. Following each inspection, the structure is the responsibility of a county or a municipality. If the structure is the responsibility of a county or municipality, Maine DOT sends a report to the local government. In some instances, these reports can include a bad bridge letter, which outlines requirements for the structure to remain safe or indicates the need for the county or municipality to post the structure for weight limit or close it to traffic. Local governments don't always act on these recommendations, creating risk to the traveling public. LD 1027 proposes the following changes to statute. Section 563. The bill would give Maine DOT the authority to post or close a structure owned by a county or municipality if the county or municipality does not take action on Maine DOT's recommendation. This proposal also includes language that would allow Maine DOT to seek reimbursement from the county or municipality for any expenses associated with the posting or the closing of the structure. Section 566. The bill also addresses potential changes to a culvert or minor span that could affect the ownership of the structure. Municipal culverts and minor spans are changing in a way that could make them large enough to become the responsibility of Maine DOT. Due to environmental standards, culverts are no longer being replaced with traditional culverts. Standards today call for the culvert replacements to be stream width. These requirements could cause the replacement structure to become a bridge, which could shift responsibility to Maine DOT. This bill would require that changes to an existing culvert or construction of a new bridge must be engineered and inspected by Maine DOT specifications. This addition to statute would ensure that any structure that becomes Maine DOT's responsibility is built to department standards. Those of you who served on this committee last session will remember that this bill is a similar one to the one to Maine DOT submitted during the 129th legislature. That bill, LD 2064, was voted out of committee, unanimous ought to pass as amended, but failed to be enacted in both chambers prior to the legislature adjourning to the pandemic. Thank you. I'd be happy to address any questions you might have or bring additional information to the work session.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rousseau. We appreciate that. It's a very helpful reminder on the testimony and on the bill we had last time. Questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That ends the registered people who are wanted to testify on LD 1027. We'll close the public hearing on LD 1027. We'll now open the public hearing on LD 704. LD 704 is an act to amend the laws governing culvert replacement. And it's presented by Representative Harnett of Gardner. Good afternoon and welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and honorable members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. My name is Tom Harnett, and I represent House District 83, which includes the town of Farmingdale and the city of Gardner. And I'm here today to introduce LD 704, an act to amend the laws governing culvert replacement to assist municipal governments throughout Maine. Before being elected to the Maine legislature in 2018, I served as the mayor of Gardner for 6 years and a city councilor for a year before that. Therefore, I am well aware of the fiscal challenges facing municipal governments who, like us, must enact balanced budgets every year. Therefore, when I was contacted by an elected official in a municipality that abuts my district, we will hear from about their need for this bill, I offered to help by putting it in so they could communicate their concerns to this committee. As I understand it, and I'm not an expert in this area, this bill amends Title 23, Section 705, that applies the Department of Transportation's rules governing culvert purchasing, placement, and replacement to be in effect on town ways and state aid highways inside urban compact zones. This amendment seeks to clarify what shall maintain means related to installed culverts located on town ways and state aid highways inside these compact zones. It can currently be interpreted as either maintaining the passage of water, but also may include the correction of frost heaved driveways or partially eroded but functioning culverts, neither of which impact the town ways or state aid highways, and which generally benefit singular homeowners and not the larger community. This amendment would permit municipalities to have clear expectations and to be able to budget for the maintenance of town ways and state aid highways and move the expense of voluntary culvert replacement to the abutter rather than the property taxpayers of the municipality. This amendment is not is not intended to prevent municipalities from replacing functioning culverts at their own expense, but clarifies whether or not municipalities are mandated to replace functioning culverts at the request of an abutter. I thank you for your time and attention today. While I invite questions on this bill, I believe the committee, actually, I know the committee will be better served holding those questions for those testifying after me, as they are far more well-versed in the details and workings of the proposal that I submitted at their request. Thank you for your time. and
Thank you,
attention.
Representative Harnett. We appreciate the testimony and bringing the bill before us. Are there questions from the committee? Seeing none, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
We have one person who is registered to speak as a proponent, Matthew Drost. Did I get your names pronounced correctly?
Drost, yeah.
Drost. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and members of the Transportation Committee. My name is Matthew Drost. I am a resident and select person of the town of Randolph, and I'm testifying today in support of LD 704, an act to amend the laws governing culvert replacement. To understand the need to amend Title 23, Section 705, it is helpful to understand the current rules regarding culvert installation and, most importantly, replacement or maintenance on townways and state aid highways inside urban compact zones, as defined by Title 23, Section 754. Should a permit for culvert installation be issued, the abutter shall provide at the abutter's expense a culvert satisfactory to the municipality, which the municipality shall install and maintain, is the final sentence of that statute, 705. While it is acceptable for the abutter to purchase a culvert satisfactory to the municipality, the labor and materials associated with installing the culvert fall to the municipality, impacting local road budgets raised by the municipality's tax base, but benefiting a singular property owner. Moreover, the labor and materials associated with culvert installation, particularly on new accesses, are often associated with additional construction and most effectively borne by the abutter or the contractor retained by the abutter. Beyond the requirement for the municipality to install a culvert, Title 23, Section 705 continues to read that the municipality shall maintain that culvert. This clause leaves a great deal of ambiguity surrounding what proper maintenance includes. The spirit of placing culvert maintenance the culvert maintenance responsibility with the municipality is to ensure that the local asset, being the townway or the state aid highway inside the urban compact zones, is protected and maintained. To that end, culvert maintenance can generally be limited to ensuring the flow of water from one side of the culvert to the other, therefore not undermining the road's integrity. The current statute does not identify who will purchase the replacement culvert, often leading to the municipality to bear the cost. However, from an abutter's perspective, the word maintain may include the replacement of damaged plastic culverts or aging galvanized culverts which experience deterioration from years of use, but otherwise these culverts would convey water under the abutter's access. Maintain may also be interpreted to mean the replacement of a functioning and intact culvert that is heaved due to frost, often because adequate cover cannot be achieved during installation, but in no way does a heaved culvert impact the integrity of the roadway. If passed, the amendment to this act would replace the language in Title 23, Section 705 regarding culvert installation and maintenance, including replacement, on townways and state aid highways inside the urban compact zones to mirror the rules regarding culverts abutting state and state aid highways outside the compact zones. Passage of this act will allow municipalities to oversee the purchasing and installation of culverts to the abutter's access, therefore ensuring the roadway's integrity is maintained, and to protect the municipality against unnecessary culvert purchasing and replacement when determined by the abutter for aesthetic or preferential reasons. It is worth noting that the amendment presented here does not prevent municipalities from continuing the practice of installing and maintaining culverts in their local jurisdiction. The amendment allows communities with limited means and rising construction costs to remove the often unexpected labor and materials expenses of culvert installation and replacement by placing the responsibility of the actual beneficiary, the abutter. The amendment allows for greater flexibility and more clarity on the responsibility of culvert installation and maintenance. I thank you for your time and attention to this act and for considering ought not to pass on this bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Drost, and thank you for taking the time to come up, not come up, but tune in with us and give your opinion. We appreciate that for sure.
Of course. Thank you.
Questions from the committee? Just for clarity for our work session, pardon the naive question, if you would. The culvert under a driveway leading into a private residence, the private residence would be the abutter as defined here? Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you very much. I see no questions. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
That completes the,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
just a reminder to individuals who will be testifying, we are maintaining a 3-minute clock. And if I have to interrupt you to remind you to limit your time to 3 minutes, please understand that we have quite a few folks testifying this afternoon, but Mr. Drost, thank you for maintaining the time to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Martin. So we'll close the public hearing on LD 704. Thank you. We'll now open the public hearing on LD 669, an act to ensure public ways are compliant with the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, and is presented by Representative Morales of South Portland. Nice to have you with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. It's nice to be with you all today. Good afternoon, Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and members of the Transportation Committee. My name is Victoria Morales, and I represent South Portland in House District 33. And I am really happy to be here today to present LD 669, an act to ensure public right-of-ways are compliant with the ADA. This bill is an integral part of an overall policy narrative I am working on this session. This narrative begins with the premise that prevention saves lives and money. And when we design our systems for our most vulnerable community members, we all do better in terms of human and financial outcomes. This bill in particular is simple. It requires that any project for construction, alteration, or repair of a road maintain the compliance of or bring into compliance the public way with the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act. Now, I have to make one change to the bill to make sure that we are not talking about simple maintenance, but we're talking about alteration, because that is the language that the ADA uses, and I want to make sure we're tracking the ADA here with our state bill here. The second piece of this bill is that any facility that's located in a public way must be relocated in order to ensure compliance. And it must be relocated at the expense of the facility owner. Now, you may ask, why is this necessary? The ADA passed in 1990, right? Because unfortunately, this longstanding federal law is not always applied throughout our state and many states, and it is not uniformly followed and understood. I am sure you have all seen, like I have, telephone poles that remain in the middle of the sidewalk after a full road construction, signs that are placed in the right-of-way that obstruct those with visual impairments and causing them harm because they're placed at the head level, sidewalks that do not have curb cuts, detectable warnings, and other examples like that. As principal attorney for the Maine Department of Transportation and as Association Corporate Counsel for the City of Portland, I can tell you that attempts to have facility owners move obstacles like telephone poles often fail. Access to civic life by people with disabilities is a fundamental goal of the Americans with Disabilities Act. To ensure that this goal is met, Title II of the ADA requires state and local governments to make their programs and services accessible to persons with disabilities. This requirement extends not only to physical access at government facilities, programs, and events, but also to policy changes that governmental entities must make to ensure that all people with disabilities can take part in and benefit from the programs and services of state and local governments. I believe strongly that place matters and that the quality and access of our public right-of-ways for all users is extremely important. From a land use perspective, when we design all of our right-of-ways for example, 8-year-olds and 80-year-olds, I believe we will achieve safety and quality of place at the same time. I haven't yet submitted my testimony online, but when I do, you'll see a link to a website called 880 Cities, and it's a land use planning, sort of a smart growth planning tool that municipalities are using to do exactly that, design their public spaces with the intent of making them safe for 8-year-olds and 80-year-olds. This bill simply makes clear that Maine must follow the ADA of the 1990s and in its right of way, and it gives the authority of the state and municipalities to require facility owners to move the poles and other facilities they own and have placed within the right of way, which, by the way, they're there at the pleasure of the state during a road alteration project. In preparation and planning for this bill, I've met with Greater Portland Council of Governments, transportation experts, community members, and the Maine Department of Transportation. And I look forward to working with all stakeholders on this important policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative Morales. We, again, appreciate you bringing the bill before us. Are there questions from the committee? Representative O'Connell.
Just a little clarification. Are you talking about existing poles and sidewalks, or are you talking about new construction?
So thanks for that question. So when there is an alteration to the right of way, which includes 7/8 of an inch of a skinny layer mix or a full-on road construction of the entire right of way, it does include that entire width of the right of way, including the sidewalk. And so if there are poles that are, in violation of the ADA, that's what I'm talking about, that in the construction of that project, to be in compliance with the ADA, we have to be able to have those poles moved to a space where they are no longer out of compliance with the ADA.
All right, thank you, because I'm aware of a lot of poles that are in that situation right now. So thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Next, speaking as a proponent is Angela King. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Senator Diamond, Representative Barton, and members of the Committee on Transportation. My name is Angela King, and this testimony is on behalf of the Bicycle Coalition of Maine. So the Bicycle Coalition of Maine believes that roadways are for everyone and that all public facilities should address everyone's mobility and safety needs. And building roadways that meet federal ADA standards for all users is essential. And if it becomes law, LD 669 will put federal guidelines into Maine state law, and this will help to ensure that these guidelines are being followed in every instance and circumstance, and that Maine is in compliance with federal law. And moving forward, accessibility and transportation equity are included in all projects and improvements to our transportation infrastructure. Thank you for your time and service to the people of Maine.
Well, thank you very much for your testimony. Are there questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you again. That completes the proponents. We have one opponent. It is Megan Russo, Maine Department of Transportation. Good afternoon and welcome again.
Hi there. Actually, we're neither for nor against. Sorry about that, Senator.
Okay.
But I think I would come next either way if there's no other.
You're next in line.
All righty. Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. Again, I am Megan Russo, Legislative Liaison for Maine DOT. Maine DOT is neither for nor against LD 669. This bill would require the public way to be brought into compliance with the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 when any construction project, maintenance, or repair of the road is undertaken by Maine DOT or a municipality. It would also require that any facility located within the public right-of-way be relocated to ensure compliance. Relocation expenses would be the responsibility of the facility owner. We would like to thank the sponsor, Representative Morales, for proposing this legislation and bringing the important discussion of ADA compliance in Maine to the forefront. Current federal law requires that any altered facility be brought into ADA compliance to the maximum extent feasible when making upgrades. In 2013, the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration clarified the term alteration as it relates to highway construction. This clarification included definitions of both alteration and maintenance. Below, or in my testimony, you'll see some definitions of both of those. I'm just going to name a few. Alteration activities include addition of a new layer of asphalt, mill infill projects, new construction, microsurfacing, and rehabilitation and reconstruction projects, to name a few. Maintenance activities include chip seals, crack filling and sealing, diamond grinding, fog seals, joint crack seals, joint repairs, pavement patching, and surface sealing. As currently drafted, LD 669 would require Maine DOT to upgrade facilities in ADA compliance when performing basic maintenance activities, such as filling a pothole in the roadway. Not only would our maintenance crews be unable to meet this burdensome requirement, as they are often in the field performing temporary fixes until a more substantial solution can be made, but this compliance would also have a significant fiscal impact. Maine DOT currently adheres to all applicable federal ADA laws. Maine DOT staff is a full-time employee responsible for overseeing ADA compliance, assisting with establishing ADA policies, and providing training and guidance to staff, contractors, and designers. Maine DOT provides ADA compliance training to municipalities as part of our biannual training and has developed a ADA transition plan that has been reviewed and accepted by Federal Highway. The bill specifically refers to the location of a facility within the public right-of-way. It seeks to give Maine DOT and municipalities the authority to require that a facility move when needed for ADA compliance. While the statute requires that we accommodate facilities within the public right-of-way, Title 35A, Section 2502 outlines that Maine DOT remains the permitting authority on state and state aid roadways outside of urban compacts and municipalities on local and state roads within the urban compact. Federal ADA requires that there be at least 3 feet of clearance around an obstruction, such as a telephone pole. Maine DOT design standards accommodate a 5-foot clearance and require a 4-foot minimum if the 5-foot standard cannot be met. Maine DOT is in the process of updating guidance to require any construction design that is below 4 feet be approved by our engineering council. This council is chaired by Maine DOT's chief engineer. It is a forum to discuss policies and to peer review complex issues. While Maine DOT is neither for nor against this legislation, we do believe the majority of the legislation is redundant. Problematic portions of this bill are centered around the inclusion of the maintenance activities. We would be happy to work with the sponsor to identify and address any potential problems with our current process outside of legislation. Thank you, and I'd be happy to address any questions the committee might have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Russo. Are there questions from the committee? Yes, Representative O'Connell.
Ms. Russo, I know that as far as polls, not all utilities seem to transfer to new poles with the speed that we wish they would. Do you know if the DOT has the ability to enforce them? Because I've seen roads built around poles that have half been transferred and the other half is still waiting for the other utility to do what they need to do.
Sure. This actually was an issue that was addressed tried to be addressed last session in the Utilities Committee. I can get you, I'll bring for work session the bill number and the final resolve of the legislation, but essentially what the bill attempted to do was create a fine if these utilities didn't move at a quick enough pace. And I think ultimately the bill died, but it directed the PUC to do a study to determine if there was a problem. And I don't know what the outcome of that study was. I'm happy to get that for the work session and provide it to you all. But I do know that that has been a problem in the past in terms of the speed at which things are moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from the committee? Would you, yes, Representative Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just real quick. The word facility was used several times.
Mm-hmm.
What would that encompass?
So I'm and the sponsor may be able to also answer that question, as I believe it's listed that way in her bill. But I think it's any utility that's in the public right of way.
So we'd be just talking utility poles, basically, utility boxes or something like that.
Yeah, I believe so, but I don't want to give you a definite answer because I'm not 100% positive.
We'll get that clarified at work session for sure. Other questions from the committee? Ms. Russo, would you be able to have a fiscal note by work session? I think that would be helpful to the committee if we could deal with that as well.
Sure.
Thank you very much. That completes the registered testifiers on LD 669. We thank the sponsor. Thank you, everybody, for testifying, and we'll close the public hearing. We'll now open the public hearing on LD 1133, submitted by the Department of Transportation pursuant to Joint Rule 204, received by the Clerk of the House. This is an act to amend the transportation laws presented by Representative Martin of Sinclair. House Chair Martin, good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Senator Diamond, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. Again, my name is Representative Danny Martin, and I am pleased to present on behalf of the Maine Department of Transportation, LD 1133, an act to amend the transportation laws. This legislation is being submitted, as pointed out earlier, by the department pursuant to Joint Rule 204 and represents the department's omnibus bill. It proposes the following. It proposes to change the state's highway corridor priority level classification system, establishes a rail use advisory council for the purpose of reviewing potential use of state-owned rail corridors in Maine. It also clarifies the appeals process of decisions of the Maine State Claims Commission and adds to statute definitions for roundabouts, rotary intersections, and mini roundabouts. As much as I would attempt to answer any questions you may have, it's my understanding that Deputy Commissioner Nina Fisher will be joining us and will speak on the bill and further detail and explain the benefits of these proposed changes. And I thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Representative Martin. Are there questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you, sir. We'll go to proponents first, and the first proponent is Nina Fisher, Deputy Commissioner, Department of Transportation. Good afternoon, Ms. Fisher. Welcome. Oh, there you are. Good.
There I am. Sorry about that. Good afternoon, Representative Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. I am Nina Fisher, Deputy Commissioner for the Maine Department of Transportation. I am before you today to present LD 1133, an act to amend transportation laws. LD 1133 represents Maine DOT's omnibus bill. It proposes changes to sections in 23, 29, and 30A of the Maine revised statutes. I'm going to break this down section by section and try to move the process along and provide some clarity. In Section 1, LD 1133 proposes changes to Maine's Highway Corridor Priority Level Classification System. These changes reflect federal requirements, system needs, customer expectations, and funding realities. The HCP and customer service levels were established in 2011 to set improvement expectations while continuing to provide customers a safe and reliable transportation system. 10 years have passed since the creation of the HCP and CSL levels, and much has changed both at the federal level and within the state. Revisions to these priority service levels and goals are in order. This realignment will result in more than 1,000 additional miles of highway being managed in the Light Capital Paving Program, make HCP1 synonymous with the National Highway System to be measured with federal performance measures, and apply minimum condition standards to HCP2 and 3 based on the percentage of poor roads. Section 2 in LD 1133 establishes a Rail Use Advisory Council for the purpose of reviewing potential uses for state-owned rail corridors in Maine, including rail use and non-rail recreational use. As those who served with this committee last session will remember, Governor Mills submitted LD 2124, which passed in committee but failed to be enacted by the entire legislature prior to adjournment due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This committee has historically received several rail-to-trail or rail-with-trail bills in past legislative sessions. Alternatively, and equally as important, this committee discusses legislation requesting the extension of rail service across Maine. Section 2 of LD 1133 would create a process by which stakeholders and entities with both trail and rail interest can come together to discuss the future of a rail corridor. The bill allows for a governmental entity representing a community along a state-owned rail corridor to petition the Commissioner of Transportation to establish a Rail Corridor Use Advisory Council. The purpose of this council is to facilitate discussion, gather information, and provide advice to the Commissioner regarding future use of the rail corridor identified in any petition. Any non-rail use of the corridor is considered interim in nature. Rail corridors will continue to be preserved for future rail use. The creation of this council creates an opportunity for all interested parties to thoughtfully and thoroughly have their concerns and opinions concerning the future of a rail corridor heard and documented. Section 3 of the bill pertains to the appeal process of a decision of the State Claims Commission. When Maine DOT acquires land through condemnation, we pay the landowner our view of just compensation based on a fair real estate appraisal. If a landowner chooses to appeal Maine DOT's compensation, they do so by requesting a hearing at the State Claims Commission. When someone disagrees with a judgment from the state claims, that person can appeal to Superior Court. This, however, is not an appeal. It is a trial de novo, or a new trial. The Superior Court does not review the State Claims Commission ruling. The party that files the appeal receives a new trial. This process works if the landowner files the appeal because the landowner has the burden of proof under Maine law to show that they are entitled to more compensation than Maine DOT paid during condemnation. The difficulty with this process arises when Maine DOT disputes an award from state claims and we want to utilize the appeal process. We would have to file an appeal as the plaintiff, despite not asking for anything and not having the burden of proof. LD 1133 clarifies this scenario by specifying that landowner claiming damages through the appeal process remains the plaintiff. And finally, sections 5, 6, and 7 add definitions into statute for roundabouts, rotary intersections, and mini roundabouts. Adding these items into statute will further clarify roundabout and rotary intersection operation for users and will give law enforcement the appropriate tools to enforce roundabout, rotary intersection, and traffic circle operations. Thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to try to address any questions the committee might have.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. That was very concise and very informative. We appreciate that. Are there questions from the committee members? Yes, Representative O'Connell.
Having been involved in that type of process, I can tell you it's a very interesting process, very educational. And as a sidebar, Mrs. Fisher, I spoke with your father-in-law yesterday, Dusty Fisher. Some of us here know him. Great guy, great guy.
Thank you. Yes.
Ditto, for sure. Senator Farren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Deputy Commissioner Fisher. One of the portions that came to mind for me was about the rail trail piece, because I'm sure many members of the committee have received numerous emails and conversations, and those that have been involved in the Transportation Committee in the past know that we normally see 5 or 6 bills that have to do with the rail corridor and different uses and of such. So just to be clear, with this commission being and giving the committee the commissioner the opportunity to compile all of that information, would there still be a mechanism for reporting back to the Transportation Committee for discussion of what those things look like, and just a little more detail on the peek behind the curtain, I guess, a little bit of the thought that went into that might be helpful.
Yes, thank you, Senator. And I apologize. I may have glossed. I think the echo comes when Senator Farren is unmuted, is kind of process of deduction here. But I did really kind of, those of you who may have had my written testimony, and I alert to anybody who's listening in, you may want to read the written testimony online, because with that 3-minute clock barreling down on me, I dug deep to try to condense it all and go quickly. But yes, obviously your committee still remains a committee of jurisdiction under the Rail Preservation Act that's currently in Title 23. So before we would do anything in there, we have to bring a bill forward to you folks. And this whole process arose during the 129th, as many of you remember, and we kind of viewed it as a partnership between the legislative branch and the executive branch, because you guys get a lot of bills every session. It's very similar to the license plate issue that you face on a regular basis. And a process is in place right now for license plates that you can kind of tell a bill sponsor or even a legislator before the bill is even introduced that this is how you have to go. This is the process you follow, and then it comes to us. So we were trying to create a process for you folks to assist you with this, to try to say, have you gone through this process yet? It's similar to naming of roads and bridges. You know, do you have your letters from your local municipalities for support? So this Rail Use Advisory Council is really established to have all of this heard in a public process with the municipalities, with stakeholders, with interested parties. And then they make a recommendation, which we do not anticipate would be unanimous, to the commissioner. And then the commissioner is required to bring legislation forward to you folks. We can't operate, currently in statute, we can't do that on our own. We'd have to bring it forward to you anyway. So this kind of adds a level of respect for the legislative process, and it tells us we've aired all of these grievances. This is what people said. This is the result of the legislation we've put forward. And hopefully, again, it was meant as a partnership with the legislature to kind of provide a relief valve for you for all of the legislation that you've been receiving lately. I don't know if that helps answer the question.
Thank you very much. Representative Lynn Williams. You're on mute.
I think Representative Seaver was next.
No, go right ahead. We'll get you.
Okay. Thank you. I have a question about the rail committee proposed here. And I'll bring this up in the work session. I'm very concerned about it because there seems to be only one person or one appointee that represents rail interests in the state. I mean, I suppose a commissioner of an agency might, and so on. But I'll say here, and then, you know, perhaps there might be some changes to the work session, but I would not vote I would not vote for this entire bill if this section remains in it. And I would if it was stripped from it. But the way the composition is listed here, is described here, I have a strong aversion to that. Thanks.
Thank you, Representative Williams. Representative Seabrook. There you go.
Thank you, Senator. Can you hear me? All set?
You're good.
Okay, good. All right. Good afternoon, Deputy Commissioner. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Nice to see you. Listen, I have a couple of issues with this bill that I would like to address with you, maybe privately, maybe for the work session. But I'm just going to tell you where my areas of concern in this bill are. First is in Section 1, paragraph number 7. The second paragraph down. I think what happens sometimes in these bills, this is in the form of a question, Senator, so I'm not kind of rambling on here, but I think what happens sometimes in these bills is some really significant major changes in the way we do business, quote unquote, happens in some very subtle language changes. And I'm very concerned with changing the words "is geographically balanced" and that addresses urban and rural needs to meets customer expectations and transportation system needs. Now, maybe somebody who's not familiar with the way things have been in Maine for a long time in the transportation world, but right in that paragraph, I see a real opportunity to stick it to rural communities. Now, I know you'll say, well, we're not going to do that, but you're not going to be there forever. And we put this into law. Somebody who's far more partisan than the current commissioner, somebody who has an agenda, a more urban, a more service center agenda, by changing that one sentence, it changes the entire focus of the goals of the work plan, because you're not trying to balance that. You're not trying to balance that urban and rural need out. You're just looking for the customer expectations. So if you've got 40,000 people in Portland and their expectation is one thing, but you got 600 people in Stowe, they're not going to be, meeting the transportation that would be.
We're losing your audio.
That's a real concern of mine. And I tell you, if that sentence stays in, even though I like some other parts of this bill, that's just not, I think that's that kind of wishy-washy part of public policy that we have to be much more specific. And we have been, and the department has managed to do that quite effectively under the existing law. So that change, I know maybe is to match up something. So is there a way we can word that so that we get a little better, for one of another term that's popular, equity, out of the department?
Yes, Representative.
That was to Nina.
We lost you a couple of times, but we got the gist of it, Representative Seabrook.
Wow. Did I just go through all that and nobody heard me?
No, we heard some of it. Yeah, could you repeat that, please? No, I'm just.
Yeah.
Deputy,
No,
Deputy Fisher, would you?
maybe?
I sure can, Representative. I think that you might not be able to.
Okay, so that's section 1, okay?
Okay.
Okay, you know, I could. I absolutely could, because it's coming from my belief.
We're really losing you, Representative Seabrook. We'll be sure to get that.
No, I can hear you now.
Okay. So, Deputy Fisher, would you?
Yeah, this internet connection sucks. I got to tell you what, I got to change something because this is horrible. I'm going to try and call in to the number, and if you don't mind me asking a question from the phone, I would love to do that.
That'll be fine. Thank you, Deputy Fisher. Go ahead.
Yep, no, I appreciate the question from Representative Seabrook, and what I can do is if I missed any of it, I can work with Sam to try to pull out the exact wording of that question. That's good. You often don't hear this from me, but I'm happy to talk internally with staff and bring you back a more thought out answer for work session. Obviously, Representative Seabrook is right. You probably saw me smiling and chuckling. We talked about the nonpartisan nature of our commissioner. I think he's correct. You'd be hard pressed to find any, person more nonpartisan than Bruce Van Note. So I really appreciate that compliment. I know he will as well. Let me talk and figure out why we chose that exact wording. I'll be honest with you. I worked as I testified on the bill back in 2011 when I had Ms. Russo's position. And I can try to get some more information and we can try to figure out why the wording was selected and see what we might be amenable to adjusting it to certainly address that concern that Representative Seabrook raised.
Perfect. Thank you. That'd be good timing and work good for the work session. Representative White.
Thank you, Senator Diamond. Representative Williams basically covered what I was going to say, something about the Rail Corridor Use Advisory Council. I just wondered about the makeup of that, and maybe that would be good for discussion later on. And how many are on that? I mean, I'm trying to figure it out here, but do you have the number?
Yep, I sure do, Representative. On page 2 of the printed bill, not of my testimony, but on page 2 of the printed bill, line 12 and 13, it says Commissioner of Transportation shall invite at least 9 and no more than 15 persons. And the reason that we selected one person representing passenger rail interest in the state and one person selecting recreational trails is these proposals come out of either a desire to expand passenger rail service or restore passenger rail service, or to utilize the corridor for a non-rail purpose. So we felt in the committee last session that a member representing one person representing passenger rail interest and one person representing recreational trail interest was appropriate at the time.
Thank you. Yeah, I could certainly see that, expanding the amount of people for rail corridor would be helpful.
Thank you, Representative White. Representative Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rick Fisher, as somebody that was there in 2011, when we started all this on stuff on section 1, I understand why we're doing it. I just don't really like why we're doing it. I think that we have an issue making sure we get what light capital paving done we can get done now. If we're adding another 1,000 miles to it, we're going from 7 years to 9 years. on getting back around unless we can increase how much we do each year by a lot. I can see this having very good roads, getting light capital paving that get a lot of traffic, and I can just see this being an issue. So I have a little nervousness about making some of these changes to make things look right. So, you know, maybe that's something we need to talk a lot at the work session, but I have a real issue with how, I understand why, but I'm really nervous about putting another 1,000 miles into light capital paving. We're moving to the way where that's all we do, and we can't do that. It's just, I don't think it's a good long-term way to go. I'd rather know that we're being deficient and we need to do better in certain areas than to kind of paste over places we probably shouldn't be pasting over.
Thank you, Representative Perry. And so noted. Did you want to respond, Ms. Fisher?
I can. I mean, basically, we're in agreement. We don't want to be like capital paving all these roads either, but that's the reality of our funding situation. And we are looking to add more miles to light capital paving. And the way the system was structured before, we were essentially creating these widowed sections of roadway that were not, you know, based on these standards, we couldn't light capital pave, but we were never going to have the money to reconstruct. So this is kind of a way to rectify that situation and create a smoother driving experience for the people of Maine. That's kind of where we are, but it's duly noted. We're kind of with you on this, Representative Perry. It's the reality of our funding situation at this time.
Okay, questions? Any more questions from the committee? Try to keep it in the form of a question if you can.
I'm on the phone.
Yes, Representative Seaver, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I'm sorry about this ridiculous internet connection. So Nina, quickly, question number for section 2. I look at the makeup of that organization, the membership of that, and I'm concerned about that. Something else you and I need to talk about offline. And another thing, section 4. Yeah. So can we talk about section 4? Sort of maybe offline as well. There's a couple things in there that make me concerned about the that advisory council. You've got to talk us through that, or talk me through that, because I can see something like that, and I've seen it in the past where it becomes a bit of a too much of a gatekeeper, too much of a closed door group, you know, special interest groups, and I just don't like the feel of that. So let's get together afterwards or tomorrow and just kind of hammer some of this stuff out. All right.
Sure.
Great suggestion.
And then I'll report. I'll be happy to report back to the committee what we've talked about too. If, you know, or you can, either way. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you, Representative Seaver. Representative Perry, are you still up, or you just left your hand up? Okay, thank you. Other questions for Ms. Fisher? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have one other person speaking as a proponent, Jonathan French from Hollowell. Good afternoon and welcome, Mr. French. Is he with us? He is, yep.
Sorry, Senator, in our committee, I usually let the
Can you
person
hear me
after
okay?
the-
Yes, Mr. French, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hold on one second.
Give us your video. There you
we
go.
go.
All right. Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you. Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation. My name is Jonathan French. I'm a licensed professional engineer residing in Hollowell. And for full disclosure, I'm currently the engineering data manager for the Bureau of Project Development of Maine DOT. But prior to that, I spent 15 years of my career as a designer for the Maine DOT Highway Program. And in that position, I was able to design 3 roundabouts, peer-reviewed other designs, and co-authored design guidance for roundabout design for the department. I'm also a member of the Roundabout Standing Committee for the Institute of Transportation Engineers. Although I'm an employee of the department, I am testifying on my own time and as a private citizen in support of LD 1133 because it provides much-needed changes and additions for the proper operations of Maine's roundabouts. Roundabouts have existed in Maine since 1997 when the first one was constructed in Gorham. Now, almost 30 additional roundabouts have been built, yet the current applicable statute still only refers to the operations at traffic circles and rotary intersections. Maine no longer builds traffic circles or rotaries, and the last true rotary to exist is in Wyndham, with all others either converted to roundabouts or modified to function as a roundabout. Although many in New England still use the terms interchangeably, a roundabout is quite different from a rotary, and I've attached a graphic to my testimony that shows the differences. Rotaries have larger diameters and are designed to move traffic quickly. They have tangent entries, and multi-lane rotaries require weaving between the entries and exits to the rotary to reach the intended destination. This weaving combined with higher speeds has caused many crashes, and the building of new rotaries subsequently ceased nationwide by the 1950s. Roundabouts were introduced to the United States in the late 1990s. They have smaller diameters, curved entries, and are designed to move traffic slowly and safely. Multi-lane configurations also do not allow for weaving. Instead, they are designed so that a vehicle in the correct lane of entry will be able to exit at its intended destination without the need for weaving. And I'm in support of the additions and changes that this bill has for roundabouts, but one additional item the committee may want to consider is the addition of language addressing large trucks at a multi-lane roundabout. And Washington State just passed a law in 2020, and I've attached that language to my testimony, like ones in Indiana and Wisconsin that allow for tractor trailers or combination vehicles that are defined in Maine statute to take up more than one lane, entering, circulating, and exiting a multi-lane roundabout. This allowance is described on page 87 of the Maine Motorist Handbook and Study Guide, and that I've also attached that to my testimony, but is not yet in Maine statute nor included in this bill. For consistency and proper enforcement, I would recommend that similar language addressing the allowance for large truck maneuvers at multi-lane roundabouts also be included in this bill. If LD 1133 were to become law, Maine would join 11 known states that officially recognize roundabouts in their state laws or codes. One of the reasons for a lack of roundabout acceptance and greater implementation nationwide, despite their safety benefits, increased user equity, climate resiliency, reduced greenhouse gas emissions, and community placemaking opportunity, is the lack of overall user education and inconsistent enforcement of proper operations. LD 1133 would be a good first step in providing more applicable language for motor vehicle operators at roundabouts and would give law enforcement agencies the tools needed to consistently enforce proper roundabout operations in Maine, which will only increase their acceptance statewide. Therefore, I urge the committee to vote not to pass on this bill. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. French, and thank you for taking your own time to testify. We appreciate that. Are there questions from the committee? Well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes our proponents. We'll now start with those who are speaking as opponents, and we'll start with Senator Baldacci. Good afternoon, Senator Baldacci. See his name. Now we need a video. We'll be good. There he is. Welcome, Senator Baldacci.
Good afternoon, distinguished members of the Transportation Committee and Chairman Diamond and Chairman Martin. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. My name is Joe Baldacci. I'm State Senator from Senate District 9, which is the city of Bangor and the town of Herman. Sometimes leaders have vision, sometimes not. Regarding rail transportation Maine, we now have, fortunately, national leadership that knows that economic opportunity and clean energy can be linked by creating a modern passenger rail system. I have concerns, and I'm sure that you folks can work these out, but I have concerns about the bill and how it treats passenger rail and how it treats the effort to connect this state. A state of Maine vision for passenger rail would want to connect all of Maine right up through St. John Valley and integrate us with our Canadian neighbors and connect Aroostook County with Penobscot, with Cumberland. A state that's one needs to be connected. I would just also point out that in terms of a practical level, the federal government is investing, along with Pan Am, close to $75 million to upgrade the rail lines between Mattawamkeag and the Brunswick area. Some people may ask, where is Mattawamkeag? Well, Mattawamkeag is right past Old Town, north of Bangor. And those lines can be used for both freight and passenger rail. This has been done before. This is typically what's been done. When the city of Bangor has 3 times asked the Transportation Committee to extend passenger rail. Once in 2001, once in 2017, and in 2017, we offered as a city 25,000 because I was the mayor of Bangor at the time. Those have been rejected twice. We've never seen a citizen advisory council, a rail advisory council. We've seen only resistance and opposition from the Department of Transportation, despite our best efforts over at least the last decade to try to have some interest, some conversation. I am concerned that LD 1333 is an effort to delay further the effort to expand passenger rail. We have a once in a generation moment with the national administration that we have, the resources that the state of Maine is being given in addition to what the federal government is seeking, which is the extension of passenger rail in general. Because passenger rail not only provides economic opportunity, but it's also a central part of a clean energy agenda. And I'm not talking about a passenger rail system that goes 60 miles an hour. We're going to have to talk about commuter rail. We're going to have to talk about connecting the state. And I am very concerned, Mr. Chairman, and I'm sure you guys can work this out, but I'm very concerned that part of the proposed statute is going to seriously delay and put back our efforts. If the Department of Transportation had been very serious, Bangor has been diligent in trying to seek the state to be involved for well over a decade. We have received nothing, no response, nada. And we don't want further delays or excuses. We want people to have action. One last point. The Bangor region is the 2nd largest metropolitan area in the state of Maine as defined by the federal government. 155,000 people versus Lewiston's 110,000. So people should, and connecting it through Waterville and Augusta to Bangor makes perfect sense. But I leave all those arguments to you. I'm concerned about the bill's effect and how it could unduly delay further what we've been trying to work on for over a decade. And I appreciate your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator Baldacci. And we appreciate your comments. We really do. And we thank you for bringing those to us. Are there questions from the committee? Yes, Representative White, Bruce White.
Yes, thank you for your testimony, Senator Baldacci. Now, you mentioned the total bill, but are there, I take it that you're more concerned about a specific section in this bill than the entire bill?
Right. I leave a lot of the technical stuff to you guys on the Transportation Committee because I bouncing around a bunch of other committees as you guys are, but that was the bill part that I'm most concerned about. I haven't analyzed the others because we've been working on this for a while. As you know, the City Council in Bangor a couple months ago unanimously endorsed this idea. The City Council in Waterville endorsed this idea. The state's getting a lot of money. So this is the focus that I've had, and I leave the rest of the bill to your capable hands.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, and I appreciate that clarification.
Thank you. And the City of Brewer, I want to make sure, because the City of Brewer has also unanimously endorsed this idea. And just one last point, this is a nonpartisan issue in this region. Republicans here, Democrats, Independents, it doesn't matter. People in this region want passenger rail, and people are pretty much united. I'd say a very high opinion amongst people regardless of political party about this issue.
Thank you. Are there other questions from the committee? If not, Senator Baldacci, thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time very much.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Just a reminder of those testifying, we are maintaining a 3-minute clock.
Yep, thank you very much for that reminder. We now, next in opposition is Representative Collins, former member of this committee. And if he didn't bring something to us, we'll accept that when we finally get together. Good afternoon, Representative Collins.
Sorry, Senator, here, Darlene wrote a note that actually Representative Collins will be neither for nor against.
Okay.
And so I'm not sure if you want to reshuffle the order there or if you would still like.
I'll take care of that. We'll put him at the bottom. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yep,
You might
no problem.
remind me again so I don't scratch him out. We'll go to another opposition. Next in line is Russell Barber, the Maine Rail Group. Good afternoon, Mr. Barber. We've got a name and looking for a video, which we'll get shortly. Coming up.
Unmute. Hello, I just unmuted.
Okay, welcome. Do we have a video of you? We can do that as well from where you are.
There should be a video. I think. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Start
Okay.
video. Here we go. Here I
There you
am.
go. Wow, Mr. Barber, welcome.
Okay, I'm not no longer a cardboard cutout. All right.
You look fine, by the way. Go ahead.
All right. I trust you have my write-up in front of you. Okay,
Yeah, well,
thank you very much for this opportunity. You'll all enjoy this because this will be brief. Senator William Diamond and Representative Danny Martin, all the members of the committee. I am here today to urge you to vote ought not to pass LD 1133, an act to amend the State Railroad Preservation Act. My name is Russell Barber. I'm the president of the Maine Rail Group, and I work as an able seaman on the Captain Neil Burgess ferry from Rockland to North Haven. My father, Richard Barber, worked his entire career for Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, managing the system, scheduling, the system's scheduling. He never gave up advocating the return of public transportation to all the major cities of Mass. He lived just long enough to see the beginnings of the economic success rail has meant to Massachusetts. There are two proposed legislator-sponsored passenger rail studies currently underway in Maine, Lewiston to Portland and Brunswick to Bangor. Both of these projects could be a great asset to a large portion of the citizens of the state of Maine. It would bring economic opportunities similar to the success of Downeaster. However, a proper statewide, carefully designed, forward envisioning rail plan does not currently exist. LD 1133 would allow special interests to take control of portions of those rail assets and forever prevent their future use. This bill has been planned, timed, and presented to exploit this vacuum of planning. The state-owned rail lines belong to all the people of Maine. Therefore, we respectfully ask LD 1133 to be voted ought not to pass. Thank you for your time. I'm available for your questions. No, I didn't realize there was more sections to this bill, but I'm being very clear about this moment in time. And I'm not saying that a bill like this doesn't have merit in another place, but I really, really want to urge you to get the cart before the horse. Let's get the state's rail plan put together, and there's going to be other opportunities for other rail lines that could be converted in a proper manner and so forth. I'm seeing the great, wonderful things going on in Massachusetts, factory towns being reconnected and so forth. So my opposition is very clear just to this moment in time and utilizing this timing. Let's do our planning carefully and see what we can do with Washington. And one other thing that's not on my thing here, I'll finish up with, is that federal funds would help a lot of highway related stuff where the train comes in access to the highways. A lot of those areas would be crossings and rotaries and other things would be mediated. But anyway, that's the core of my testimony. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Barber, and we appreciate you being with us. Questions from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. Next, we will have, speaking in opposition, is Richard Rudolph. Good afternoon, Mr. Rudolph.
Hello.
Yes, hello, welcome.
Yeah. My name is Richard Rudolph. I'm a Portland resident who is the director of the Maine Rail Group, and I chair a national organization called the Rail Users Network. Formerly, I was an academic dean at the University of Massachusetts in Boston and chaired the Community Planning Center. I taught courses on climate change, needs assessment, sustainable development, and other related topics. I also served as the chairman of Amtrak's Customer Advisory Committee back in the late 1990s, the early part of this century. I'm here today to urge you to vote ought not to pass 1133. We're especially concerned about sections 2 and 4 of that bill, proposed bill. And what it would do is undermine the intention of your predecessors who had the wisdom to provide state funds to purchase what are now state-owned rail lines before they were abandoned by Guilford Industries in the late 1980s, early 1990s. They recognized the value of these lines for possible future passenger rail use. They invested over $17 million, and this is in 1990 money, not 2021. The bill before you is designed to turn over these rail lines to bicycle interests. MDOT's bill is a rewrite of a bill that was first submitted in 2020, and it would allow this pretty much the same bill with some additional sections. It would allow the Commissioner of Transportation to appoint 9 to 15 people to serve on a council, which membership would include various parties. Needless to say, there would only be one rail advocate out of those 15 members. From our perspective, it's a stacked deck. And it's really a failure on the part of MDOT. They should have a rail plan. They don't have one. The last one was passed in 2014. The Federal Railroad Administration requires DOTs to come up with a state plan every 4 years. They have not done that. And instead, we have a commissioner who included in his work plan this year, his 3-year work plan, $27,000 for an advisory committee. So it's pretty preposterous. The bill also flies in the face of what Senator Augusta, Boyle, and Brewer have passed, the city councils have passed resolutions calling for a feasibility study.
Mr. Randolph,
So
excuse,
that's
Mr.
another-
Randolph,
Mr. Randolph?
excuse me for interrupting. Your time is up, sir. If you could wrap it up, that would be great.
Okay.
We are maintaining
In
3-minute
a
clock.
nutshell, sure, I understand that. So in a nutshell, I don't have time, but it's in the testimony about the economic benefits of restoring passenger service to Central Maine, and I'll leave it there. Thank you very much. If there's questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Rudolph. And again, sorry about the time, but we have to stick to our 3 as much as possible. We appreciate your comments and being with us. Are there questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Next, speaking in opposition would be Peter Cole. Good afternoon, Mr. Cole. We got a window.
Window, there I am, I'm unmuted and I should have a picture if I can expand this. Here we are. Okay. And start video. Sorry, I'm a little nervous here.
Don't feel bad. You should see me try to get on. Nope, not quite.
There I am. Okay.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. Cole. You're
Hi,
welcome.
I'm Peter Cole. I'm a resident of Topsom, Maine. I'm an educator, retired educator by profession, a rail advocate now, belonging to MRG, and I also serve as a volunteer with the Downeaster Service. And I'd like to thank Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and the rest of the committee for listening to me. A few weeks ago, as the world waited and watched, the Earth's transportation system collapsed due to one stuck ship blocking the Suez Canal. One small part of the transportation artery was blocked and everything stopped. Having one community decide to turn a rail corridor into a non-rail use will have the same effect on Maine's economy. Maine's rail corridors were built to minimize grades, maximize loads located in the center of communities. They belong to the citizens of Maine for rail transportation. By threatening rail corridors, we're stopping future growth, encouraging future sprawl, and cutting out potential investments in towns. I remember visiting friends in California. The nearby freeway had 14 lanes, and the traffic was still bumper to bumper and barely moving. And that's the future of Maine as housing prices continue to rise and farmlands and woodlots become part of the sprawl. The state of Maine legislature is being asked to invest in 2 studies for this session to seek information about the possibility of expanding rail on the historically viable routes that LD 1133 would only further complicate. Maine is at a crossroads. Does it want wise environmental sensitive growth, or does it want uncontrolled sprawl, which has destroyed so much of the rest of the country? Does it desire to attract young people who care about the environment and good transportation? Does it want to provide service to older residents who already live here, or does it want to kill the city centers and spread sprawl all over the state? Bicycle paths are great, but they're not a viable long-distance travel alternative in Maine. Widening roads for bicycles, having bicycle parking facilities at train stations and stores is much more environmentally sane than building ever larger parking structures. Train tracks are 4 feet, 8.5 inches apart, and most of the rights of way are not much wider. Does anyone seriously think 4 feet, 8.5 inches is a good width for a 2-way bicycle path? But that width is perfect for rails, carrying trains, carrying people from one end of the state to the other. I urge you to vote no on LD 1133, Section 2. It has nothing to do with roads and should not be part of this bill. Maine needs a rail plan connecting the cities of this state together, not a piecemeal approach to bike paths within city limits leading nowhere. I think I kept the 3 minutes.
You did a great job, Mr. Cole. Thank you very much. We appreciated the articulated presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions from the committee? Seeing none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Next in opposition, Joseph Leonard from Bangor. Mr. Leonard, are you with us? Yes. Got a name and should see a picture soon.
All right. Can everyone hear me?
We got you. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much for having me on. My name is Joseph Leonard. I'm one of the founding members of the Bangor's Advisory Committee on Racial Justice, Economic Justice, and Inclusion. I'm also part of the Parking Committee as well here in Bangor as well. I'm also a retired military officer as well. So I'm here obviously to urge the committee to vote ought not to pass LD 1133. The State Railroad Preservation Act has protected rail lines for decades and is being threatened by a lot of interest groups, most notably through LD 1133. That has to be taken noted. And the timing on this legislation is very poor. Multiple statewide initiatives, which have already been talked about, pertaining to rail corridors, are currently waiting to be presented to the legislature. During a period of time where the Biden administration is looking into a massive national rail investment, this legislation would put rail through a committee that will further thwart any rail initiatives, national or not. The bill itself is also just inherently flawed, as it combines multiple transportation issues into one, I'll say, a jumbled mess of legislation. Just from an organizational standpoint, these sections should be removed to form their own bills, or the legislation should be pushed off later in the year once already submitted affected legislations have been addressed. I feel like I should also further add, we have an opportunity to push rail initiatives that provide economic justice here by finally providing Maine people the rail initiatives that they have been asking for since the 1990s. But LD 1133 will effectively add even more decades of wait for Maine people to develop rail, and that's just simply unacceptable. I urge you all to vote ought not to pass LD 1133, and I'm open to any questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. And again, thank you for being with us. Are there questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for all the work you do in your community. Obviously, you're well involved, and we certainly appreciate that.
Thank you all very much.
Next, speaking in opposition is Tony Donovan, who is the Maine Rail Transit Coalition. Good afternoon, Mr. Donovan. If we can get you on mic. There
we go. How's that?
You're doing well. Thank you very much, sir.
Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, members of the committee. A first time on Zoom public testifying. I hope I do all right. And I, by the way, look forward to a few more. Again, my name is Tony Donovan. I live in Portland. I'm a commercial realtor, founding member of the Maine Rail Transit Coalition. And our organization, along with the Maine Rail Group and the Rail Users Network, are leading advocates for the restoration of passenger train services in the region to take advantage of existing railroad corridors in the state. I submit this testimony in opposition of LD 1133, an act to amend transportation laws, and really wish to point out that we all should read the State Railroad Preservation Act, enacted in 1989 for the purpose of protecting these state rail assets. Now, here we are, rather than addressing the value of these critical state of Maine-owned railroad or transportation infrastructure, we instead are dealing with plans to convert these critical transportation infrastructures to recreational parklands. At a time when it's critical, Maine to address the impacts of transportation sector on the climate, as noted in the governor's climate report, again, we're looking at taking something away. Now, regarding LD 1133, there are several problems. The most obvious is the radical change to existing state law, which I mentioned. In my opinion, in my experience, this should be something that comes out of the legislature, your committee, rather than having it brought to you buried, as someone just said, in the middle of a jumble of other legislation. The changes themselves make no sense. The list of agencies, I'm not going to repeat what was said earlier, make no sense, but it is definitely stacked in favor of those who have in the past, agencies in the past that have converted rail lines to parklands and recreational trails, and who are obviously going to try to do it again. Poor timing. Changing the State Railroad Preservation Act to accommodate interests of non-rail users and creating an additional review process at this time is contrary to the purpose of the act to preserve rail. And I know MDOT feels it's under pressure by non-rail use advocates, but the fact remains that rail use advocates have advanced planning in this legislative session for as many as 4 railroad uses of state-owned railways. And these plans go back decades and have been supported by this legislature, this committee, and the entire legislature, the governor's office, past governor's office, and MDOT, as it's evidenced by multiple costly studies that have gotten us to where we are today. So it's not time to take measures that would impede the progress of leveraging these valuable transportation infrastructure. So MDOT is offering a solution to a problem that has not been defined. I would like to say that my experience with the National Rails to Trails Conservancy, which is a national organization clearly behind this because it is their modus operandi across the country for getting the camel's nose under the tent, where they will move to take these rail corridors, and once taken for recreational use, they will never go back. I would also suggest to you today that there's a better alternative. A bill that has not yet been printed, we expect to see it printed by the middle of next week, introduced by Senator Rick Bennett of Oxford, to strengthen the state's passenger rail authority, will be a better forum for meeting current statewide demands for more and better passenger train service and to oversee these critical Maine transportation infrastructure assets. If I haven't said that enough times, I'll say it again. Maine transportation infrastructure assets. The State Rail Authority is a much better place for any kind of advisory oversight of these important rail corridors. before considering requests for non-rail use, changing the original intent of state laws.
Mr. Donovan, excuse me for
I'll wrap up.
interrupting. If you could wrap up, that would be
I certainly
great.
will
Thank
wrap
you.
up. I asked that, I think it's been a couple times, section 2 and section 4, this be deleted from this bill. But actually, I'd rather see this whole bill just carried over, pushed away, tabled until you all have a chance to hear these railroad bills that'll be coming up. Thank you for your time. And as I heard someone say earlier, I repeat, thank you for your service to the people of Maine. I like that, and I think I'll use that more often. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Donovan. That was very kind of you, and we appreciate all the work you've done over the years and working with this committee. So thank you for being with us. Are there questions from the committee? Excellent. Thank you very much, sir. We look forward to talking to you further.
Thank you again.
We'll now go to Representative Collins, who is speaking neither for nor against LD 1133. Good afternoon and welcome, Representative Collins. And again, when you see us in person, are you here? Yes, yeah, you are. There you are.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me, Senator Diamond?
We can all hear you. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good. Well, good afternoon, Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, distinguished members of the Transportation Committee. And yes, if this was a live hearing where I was there, I would be bringing you all types of good donuts and baked goods from Portland and maybe some other things as well. So anyway, I am Representative Benjamin Collins. I represent House District 42 in Portland. I'm testifying neither for nor against this bill submitted by the good representative from Sinclair, Representative Martin. Like many that spoke before me, my comments are directed towards the use of rail lines. I just want to mention in this testimony that I have a couple pieces of legislation coming forward that will be presented to your committee shortly, I imagine, that deal somewhat with this. One is to have an overall strategy, long-term vision, state plan for rail use. I have another bill that deals with protecting and preserving rail lines. And I also want to mention with many other bills being presented in the legislature on expansion of rail use, and additionally with a very ambitious plan, which I have not seen it in my generation, to offer more expansion of passenger rail across the country by the current White House administration. I think it would be wise that as you move forward working with this bill, that you set aside this part and allow bills like mine and several other bills, as well as to wait to see what happens federally before we make any decision on that. I believe in such instances like this, and in all the committees I've served on as a legislator, there's a precedent there that I hope you would consider following, that while we're waiting to see the overall outcome of many pieces of legislation on the state and federal level that will impact the use of rails in the state, that we may not move on just one idea that deals with rail use at this time. So I hope that was under 3 minutes. I know you would have given me 30 minutes if I needed it, but I'm trying to keep it under 3 minutes like all the other speakers before me. Thank you.
We like you, but not that much. So thank you. Thank you very much for that, Representative Collins. And yes, your idea about waiting for some outcome, I think the committee has to certainly think about that as well at the federal level. Okay, questions from the committee? Well done, Representative Collins. Again, we miss you on our committee, and good luck to you.
Well, thank you. And once we expand rail, I can take the train up to Fort Kent and meet Representative Danny Martin up there. So I look forward to that.
Better get a dog sled out. All right, so that concludes our registered testifiers on LD 1133. So we thank everybody for your contributions, and we will now close the hearing on LD 1133. We're now going to make a transition in chairs. So you got something to do for 60 seconds. Now would be the time to do it. I'm going to gather up I will be presenting the next bill. So Representative Martin will be assuming the chairmanship.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Diamond. If we could have a volunteer who has got an iPhone or something else handy to keep a 3-minute clock, that would be great. Any volunteers? If I see no volunteers, I want to appoint someone.
I think Mr. O'Connell, or Kevin O'Connell, Representative O'Connell volunteered.
All right, great, Kevin. Thank you. 3-minute clock.
That doesn't pertain to the sponsor of the bill, by the way. I'm all set.
While Senator Diamond is getting ready, moving forward, we'll now be hearing LD 537, an act to dedicate sections of the main interstate highway system to fallen state troopers, to be sponsored by our very own Senator Bill Diamond. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you, Chairman Martin. Thank you very much, and distinguished members of the Transportation Committee. I appreciate the opportunity. Actually, was honored to be asked to present this bill. I am Senator Bill Diamond, the sponsor of LD 537, an act to dedicate sections of Maine interstate highway system to fallen troopers. Working along on this bill with Senator Farren, Representative Seaver, Representative Bruce White, and Senator Davis. So it's an honor to be asked to do this. This is the 100th year of the Maine State Police, which was established in 1921. During that time, 12 Maine troopers have given their lives in the line of duty to protect the citizens of this great state. We owe them our gratitude, and we're obliged to remember them in a way that distinguishes their service. Many states have established ways to honor their fallen troopers, and we in Maine should do the same. Dying in the line of duty, given their utmost to protect the rest of us, deserves our unbridled appreciation and acknowledgement because of the unselfish manner in which they gave their lives. Losing a loved one is always heart-wrenching to a family and friends, but the added grief of having a life taken suddenly in a violent way is even more devastating. Police officers face danger on a regular basis, and we're thankful that most of the time they return home to their families at the ends of their shifts. After doing my due diligence, researching the logistical challenges to implement the purpose and intent of this bill, I realize there is no doubt some adjustments to the bill that may have to be considered, and I'm confident we can find a way to properly recognize these dedicated fallen troopers. I look forward to working with the retired Maine troopers, with the Maine Turnpike Authority, with the Department of Transportation, and mostly this committee as we move forward with this effort. So, Mr. Chair and members of the committee, again, I proudly present this bill, and I thank you for listening. And if you have questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. Do my best.
Thank you, Senator Diamond. Questions from committee members? Seeing none, I guess you're off the hook, Senator.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
It's my understanding that Senator Paul Davis, who is co-sponsoring the bill, is here to testify. Senator Davis, are you live?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can. Can't see you, but you're on
Good, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Paul Davis, and I have the honor of representing the good people of Senate District 4, which includes Piscataquis and parts of Somerset County. Excuse me. I'm here to testify in strong support of this bill, an act to dedicate sections of Maine's interstate highway system to fallen state troopers. As a retired Maine State Trooper, I am pleased to speak in support of the legislation before you that would designate 1 mile stretch of Interstate 95 in memory and honor of each police officer that has died in the line of duty. And as Senator Diamond said, since 1921, we have lost a dozen Maine State Troopers. And most recently was Ben Campbell from Millinocket. He was killed on the interstate a year ago, just about, 2 years ago, He was hit by a tire that came off a truck, and he was killed. I took the time, I went to Millinocket, I visited with his widow, I met his son and his in-laws, wonderful people. They have grief, and while police officers, former police officers like myself, can mourn his loss, his family and friends will mourn him for the rest of their lives. Mr. Chairman, we have monuments, bridges, and other forms of markers honoring the lives of individuals from different areas of service that have lost their lives doing their jobs. However, we don't really have something specifically on the interstate anyway that honor that of our state troopers whose main job is to patrol and protect those traveling on I-95. Men and women patrolling our interstate highway have given their lives protecting those who are traveling from York County to Aroostook County. Now, Mr. Chairman, I just want to share with you just a little bit more. I have not only visited Hillary Campbell and her son and their family, but in 1980, I was in charge of a fatal accident where a young state trooper was killed. It was on July 12th, 1980. It's a night that I will never forget for the rest of my life. I really appreciate the fact that Senator Diamond put this in, and I really hope that this bill will pass unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I'm happy to try to answer any questions that anybody might have of me.
Thank you very much, Senator Davis. It was great to hear from you again. Questions from committee members? Senator Perrin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not really a question, just a thank you to Senator Diamond for sponsoring this bill, and Senator Davis, thank you for your service and coming before the committee today and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you, sir.
Other questions? Representative Perkins.
Very much basically echoing what Senator Farron said. Thank you, Senator Diamond. Thank you, Senator Davis, for this. It's a good bill, and thank you from one police officer to the.
Great.
Thank you.
Are there other questions or comments? Seeing none. Thank you for your testimony, Senator Davis. We now
Thank
have.
you, Representative Martin. It's nice to hear from you again,
Nice to
too.
hear from you too. We now have 4 individuals who would like to speak in support in favor of LD 537. Next up is Tim Colbert from Wyndham, Maine. Mr. Colbert, are you live? Welcome. Mr. Colbert, we can see you.
There we go. Okay, can you hear me now?
We can.
All right, thank you. I have to start my stopwatch for my 3 minutes. Excuse me. Dear Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, and distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation, I'm testifying in support of LD 537. As president of the Maine Retired Troopers Organization, and on behalf of approximately 400 retired Maine troopers, I thank you for sponsoring LD 537. On the day we all signed up, excuse me, for one of the hardest jobs in America, all we ever wanted to do was protect the citizens of this great state. The law enforcement profession comes with great pride of service and unfortunately many risks. Every day we start our work not knowing what danger lies ahead. It is a calling many not will understand. What person runs towards danger, risks their lives for people they do not even know? When a trooper is killed in the line of duty, they have sacrificed more than themselves, their families, friends, and neighbors. A part of Maine has died also. This year, we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Maine State Police. Over the past 100 years, we have lost 12 troopers, as it's already been said. It's a fitting tribute to those fallen troopers that we remember them by placing a sign in memoriam for their sacrifices. I am hopeful that in today's society, we can show the millions of visitors and the citizens of Maine that the state police, which is one of the best agencies in the country, are not forgotten. Just a couple of points, excuse me, of the dangers of the job. I was on from 78 to 98. My first day out of the academy and on my Troop G out on the interstate was my first day to work. My cruiser was sideswiped by a tractor trailer. Day one. What did I learn from that? never turn your back on traffic. 3 years later, I eventually got crushed and disabled on the interstate system. I found out troopers can't outrun 4 tires. We've only got 2 legs. I was offered a medical disability retirement. I refused it, and I stuck it out for 20 more years. In year 5, shot at, missed by an inch. Year 7, assaulted. Spent probably about a month out of work for that one, but I never gave up. So I just think that for the 12 who've lost their lives, this is the least we can do. And just one more point. As of today, nationally, 46 police officers have died in line of duty nationwide. That's 1 every 2 days. I think this isn't a lot to ask for these memorial signs, and I think would remind the people that there are good troopers out there, and they are supported. And we'll be here for any questions if you have any.
Thank you, sir, for your testimony. Questions, comments from committee members? Seeing none. Again, Mr. Culbert, thank you for your testimony. We
Thank you,
now
sir.
have Colonel John Cole of the Maine State Police testifying in support of LD 537. Welcome, Colonel.
Afternoon. Can you hear me all right?
A little volume would be great, maybe.
All right. Senator Dunn, Martin, other distinguished
No,
members.
no, John, we're having a hard time hearing you. Crank that up.
Is that better? Okay. Senator Diamond, Representative Martin, other distinguished members of the Transportation Committee. My name is John Cody. I'm Colonel of the State Police and representing the Department of Public Safety today in support of LD 537. You've heard of the 12 troopers that have died during our 100-year history as they work to protect and serve the citizens of Maine. Their names are etched into granite panels of memorials in Augusta and Washington, D.C. And a few local memorials serve as a reminder of these members and their ultimate sacrifice. This legislation directs the Department of Transportation and the Maine Turnpike Authority to erect signs on the I-95 corridor as a dedication and memorial for our fallen members now and in the future. While we pray we never add to the honor roll of our agency, we do support this proposed program as a way to remind travelers of the sacrifices of our fallen and their families. Understanding this may result in a small fiscal note, we hope the committee will determine the costs are small compared to the brave and honorable actions of our troopers who gave their last full measure serving others. I should note it's unusual for me to appear in uniform before the committee, but I actually come to you today from Northport, where we held a memorial ceremony noting and marking today as the 25th anniversary of the line of duty death of Trooper James Drew Griffith, who was killed on this day in 1996 as he attempted to pursue a traffic violator and his cruiser was struck broadside, killing him instantly. On that day, Trooper Griffith left behind a wife and 5 young children. His wife, you've come to know as Chaplain Kate Braystrop, the police chaplain for the Maine Warden Service, who has made a dramatic impact to many of our members and the families that have been left behind by those who die in the line of duty. His young children are grown up now, but one of them serves as a full-time sworn member of the Rockland Police Department. So as we gathered today, it was just a picture of our commitment to these families, the lives that go on once our members are fallen, and a commitment that we have to lift them up and support them in the future. So I do thank Senator Diamond and other members of the committee for sponsoring this bill, and certainly am willing to take questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel, for your testimony. Questions, comments from committee members? Seeing none. Good afternoon, Colonel. And again, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next up in support of this legislation is Mr. David Burns. Welcome, sir. Mr. Burns, you were muted. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Representative Martin, Senator Diamond,
distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation, thank you for the opportunity to come before you today. I'm Dave Burns. I'm a former member of the Maine House and also a member of the Maine Senate. And I'm also a retired trooper. I want to thank all of the sponsors of this bill, especially Senator Davis, who is also another state trooper, and especially thank Colonel Cody for taking the time today to come and support this legislation. The 12 troopers that have died in the line of duty in the last 100 years, and I'll read a few excerpts out of my testimony that I've given to you. They readily agreed to put themselves in dangers, to serve and protect, to work alone in the middle of the night, often in the middle of nowhere, to give up their time off, their vacations, when they were asked to take jobs that most people don't want to do. They were really willing to face angry workers on a strike for better working conditions, chase armed escort, escape convicts into the woods, arrest intoxicated combative drivers who would just run into your vehicle, and many other jobs that we put upon them. I read some of the testimony that had been submitted to you today, and I was especially moved by the testimony of the loved ones and spouses, especially of these fallen troopers. And I want to thank them for their sacrifice and thank them for their dedication to the Maine State Police. In the last several years, we have seen unprecedented violence towards police officers. And in 2020, according to Officer Down Memorial page, 359 officers were killed in the line of duty in this country. Veteran police officers are leaving the profession at a staggering rate. And when agencies try to hire, they find it nearly impossible to fill the vacancies. I'm really dismayed at what's going on in our country, and I just wonder where we're headed. How can we have a country with honor, with an orderly system without our police officers? When I started out in the Maine State Police in 1970 and applied, there were over 2,000 applicants to fill 25 to around 25 recruit positions up at the training academy, Camp Keys. Now it's my understanding when the department puts out a request for applicants, they're lucky if they get 100 applicants to fill 7 or 8 positions at the combined criminal justice academy. That's very concerning to me, and it should be to the state of Maine. Many other states, as has been mentioned, have established memorials. Michigan has a memorial for their state troopers, and other agencies and other organizations in this state have done the same. The sheriff's departments have memorials, such as the one for Corporal Eugene Cole Bridge in Norwalk when he gave his life in the line of duty. The game wardens have memorials such as the Lyle Frost Wildlife Management Area in Franklin and Eastbrook. And here in Washington County, we are fortunate to have a section of our Route 9 designated to one of our former legislators, the Honorable Tony Tamero. So this isn't a new thing. It's something that's very beneficial, I think, to those agencies and certainly to the state of Maine who support these agencies. And as has been mentioned before, I think by Senator Davis, the reason that we focused in on the idea of the interstate system is because that's the primary responsibility of enforcement for both our criminal and our motor vehicle laws on the interstate system. Even though they are a full state police organization, they do that all over the state. But the other aspect of that is that most everybody in this state, and certainly our visitors, travel the interstate system, and it's an opportunity, would be an opportunity to see these memorials and remind people of the extreme sacrifices that our officers have made. And again, as I mentioned in my note, it's also a reminder to drive carefully. So I think it accomplishes a lot of things. As I stated in my testimony, myself and 2 of my sons and also my son-in-law served in the department. And we were very fortunate. We weren't, none of us were seriously injured, certainly didn't give our life up, but many others have. And I think a lot about the sacrifice that is made, not just by the officers, but by their families. And I'm hoping you might hear from some of them today. I know my wife spent a lot of sleepless nights. I didn't really appreciate that until I retired from the state police and still had sons and sons-in-laws out there patrolling the highways of the state of Maine. I found out what sleepless nights were all about. So I can assure you that this will mean a lot to the families, and I hope it will mean a lot to the state of Maine. And as I said in my testimony, I think the state of Maine, the people in this state, would appreciate this and would support this. I thank you so much for listening to this testimony and this bill, and I would be glad to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator, for your testimony. Great seeing you again. Questions from committee members? Seeing none, I guess you're off the hook, Senator.
Thank you. It's good to see you folks.
Thank you. We now have another individual who would like to speak in support of LD 537, Thomas Pappas. Tom, if I mispronounced your name, I apologize.
That's perfect, Representative. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning, Representative Diamond and members of the committee. My name is Tom Pappas, and I currently represent the Maine State Troopers Association, which consists of over 260 Maine State Troopers. I'm here today to testify in support of LD 537. At this time, when there is perceived lack of support for law enforcement, it is refreshing and greatly appreciated to see this bill. It gives us due recognition to the Maine State Troopers who gave their lives protecting the citizens and visitors of Maine. From Trooper Emery Gooch, killed in 1924, to Detective Ben Campbell in 2019, 12 troopers have made the ultimate sacrifice. They are left behind families, friends, lives unfilled, and cut all too short in their dedication to duty. Enactment of this bill will allow for the placement of tangible reminders to all who travel the interstate system of the men and women who leave their families and friends every single day to take the risks inherent in their profession. They're willing to selflessly give not only themselves, but indeed themselves in doing their part to keep Maine one of the safest, if not the safest places in our great country. Your support for LD 537 will help ensure the sacrifice and legacy is not forgotten. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you, sir, for your testimony. Questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Director Peter Mills from the Maine Pike Authority is next, who will speak neither for nor against LD 537. Director Mills.
There, can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
I'm starting my video. There. Good. I just wanted to bring one thing to your attention, and that is the a document that we get from the Federal Highway Administration called the MUTCD, which stands for the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. And it's an amazingly thick document, by the way, that we have to refer to quite frequently because it governs what we are, as an interstate highway, allowed to place or not place on our highway, both for signs, traffic controls, you name it. I've sent to Sam a one-page extract of what I believe are the provisions that might apply to this bill. And the language that I want to bring to your attention is that it said that if there is a desire to place a memorializing sign of some kind, that it should be, wherever possible, placed in a rest area, a scenic overlook, a recreational area, or other appropriate location where parking is provided, with the signing inconspicuously located relative to vehicle operations along the highway. In other words, that it should not be in the travel portion of the highway, but it's appropriate to have such signings in areas where people are otherwise stopped or parked or otherwise occupying the highway system. I suppose the reason for this, and it's consistent with the policy of the MUTCD throughout. Those of you who were here 5 or 6 years ago may remember that the legislature passed a statute to try to bring the state law on signs into conformance with this manual, and we did so. We had, at that time, we had signs on the highway for secondary schools and academies and for locations that really weren't directing traffic to any particular location. And we wound up bringing the rules in state law into conformance with the MUTCD. And then over a span of 5 or 6 years, we wound up changing the sign structures on the highway. And I believe the DOT has done much the same to try to bring the entire interstate system in Maine into conformance with this national policy. I just bring this to your attention, not to say that we can't do a memorial of some kind, but we have to be very careful about following these federal guidelines and rules, because it is very important that the interstate system have uniform policies that we follow throughout all of the 50 states, really. And I think if you, I don't know for sure, but I think if you travel to other states, you would not find signs of this nature on the interstate systems in those locations. But we're willing to try to figure out something. We have our own memorial program here for those of our maintenance staff who have died in service on the Maine Turnpike. We have 4 of them that, at least as far back as we go in memory, we know 4 such people, and we have a memorial out front of our building here where Easy Pass people come in, and we have one within the building with their pictures and with a write-up on them. So there are things that can be done, but it is very difficult to comply with federal rules and federal law. And when it comes to putting signs up in the highway, on the main line of the road, that is a federal problem. I just want to bring it to your attention as an issue with this bill. And thank you. I think my 3 minutes are up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mills. I have a question. I don't have a copy of the bill present, but I wonder if you or maybe the sponsor of the bill could respond to this question here. Is the bill specific as to locations of any memorial signs?
Yeah, it says it should be.
Hold on. Or does it direct the department to choose locations?
No, the bill says that the signs shall be, that the department and the authority, that's us, shall post and maintain appropriate signs on both the northbound and southbound sides of the highway. That's the part that is difficult for us to comply with.
All right, thank you. Are there questions from committee members of Director Mills? Seeing none, thank you. I believe, Darlene, that's all the testimony on LD 537, is that correct?
That is correct.
Having heard all the testimony on LD 537, I would now close the public hearing in regards to LD 537. Darlene, do we have anything else to deal with this afternoon?
Not to my knowledge, unless Sam has something.
All right, Sam, you with us?
He
Sam
won't be in a
Flower?
minute.
Yeah.
He's coming.
Just a question. Do we have anything?
Apologies, my camera just took a second to turn on. I don't have anything else for you today. So,
Committee members, we all set? Motion to adjourn would be appropriate.
So thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate all your work today.
Thank you, Senator.
Well done.
All right, see you guys.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
You too.
Thank you.
Senator Diamond.
Yeah.
You guys have confirmations on the 22nd at 5 o'clock. The email just came through. Just thought I'd let you know. And
what? Say that again.
You guys are the Senate's gonna have confirmation hearings at 5 o'clock.
Oh.
On the 22nd.
Oh, the 22nd. Okay.
Yep, in the House chamber. And we now have a divided report on Senator Daughtry's bill.
Yeah, I heard.
821. Okay. Just didn't want to give you a big surprise.
Thank you. So the 22nd at 5 p.m.
Yes.
All right.
And they sent you a whole list of you know, who they're going to confirm and stuff.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.